Good morning and welcome to Morning Brew on Politics Social. I am Graham Hughes. Nice to have you with us. We've got Koala Meat in the chat. We've got Diz. We've got Billy Kershaw there as well. We've got Scott. We've got Sarah Davis. Shropshire Chris is in there. Koala Meat. We've got Martin Harrow, Russell Cannon, Witchy Goth. Loads of people in the chat. Hello, everybody in the chat. If you would like to join them in the chat, all you need to do is hit that lovely subscribe button at the bottom under the video, and you will be able to join in the chat. And if you'd like a rose after your name, what you can do, quite coolly, is you can just press the join button if it's available and become a member of the channel. And you'll get yourself a nice little rose, which changes colour depending on how long you've been a member. Woohoo! Right, so that's the frivolous stuff out of the way. Let's get serious. Yes, a few of us said that Trump winning the presidency would be apocalyptic for the Palestinian cause and for Gaza. And turns out we were right. That's exactly what it's turned out to be. Absolutely apocalyptic. Not just because the Israelis have pretty much flattened vast swathes of Gaza, both in the north and the south. Now you've got Donald Trump wading in like a massive twat, saying that he wants to forcibly relocate over 2 million Palestinians to neighbouring countries. He said this like about 10 days ago, and everyone thought that it was like an off-the-cuff remark. It wasn't. He doesn't make off-the-cuff remarks. He just makes stupid freaking remarks that are going to cause instability that will echo through the ages. He's proposed that the US of all people, take over Gaza, clear out the rubble, and rebuild it as what he called the Riviera of the Middle East. The man is insane. And also, I think this speaks to his mentality, because Trump has no home. He is a homeless moron, a hobo who lived in any other life, if he hadn't been born a millionaire because his daddy was a rich racist landowner, property owner. If he had been born anywhere else, he would be a homeless person in a park barking at the pigeons. That's who we have in charge of the President of the United States. No diss on homeless people. I'm just saying this is the kind of person who doesn't have a home because he has no affinity. He has no love. He doesn't know love. He doesn't know laughter. He doesn't have the same human emotions that the rest of us have. You know, we enjoy and endure. He doesn't have those emotions because the guy is a stone cold psychopath. When I say he has no home, he grew up in New York, but he has no affinity for the place because they hate him. You know, they tried to put him in jail for basically breaking the rules when it came to how you use your funding for your campaigns. You can't really use that funding to pay off a porn star. He didn't like that, and he also didn't like the fact that he was done for diddling the books and getting massive loans out from the banks based on property values that he exaggerated. He didn't like that either. So he has no home. He has no homeland. He has no affinity for New York or Florida, where Mar-a-Lago is. He doesn't give a shit about these places. He doesn't give a shit about America. He doesn't feel that pull. Now, I don't know if you do. Not everyone does, right? And it's not a diss if you don't, but I feel a strong affinity to the city of Liverpool, where I was born, where I grew up, and after travelling as much as I have, I've come home to realise that actually it is one of, if not the best cities in the world. And obviously I'm biased. Obviously, you know, I've got some of my heart devoted to it in that it's my city and I love it, even though it's got faults and it could do better in some respects. It's still my city. Trump doesn't have that. So he cannot possibly understand what it's like for the Palestinians who live in Gaza to be presented with this idea that he's going to forcibly relocate them to Egypt or Jordan while he clears the place up and then maybe lets a few of them back. That sounds like a pogrom. That is pretty much the dictionary definition of a pogrom, which is a riot or instability or violence that, you know, is in some way to what they call ethnically cleanse an area. I really hate the expression ethnic cleansing because in its etymology, it seems to be saying that these people are not clean. These people are dirty, and we need to cleanse the area of the dirty people. So it's a disgusting term. Let's just use the real one that the United Nations should be using right now, which is genocide. The forcible destruction of an entire people, religion, civilization, whatever you want to call it. And this is what he's calling for. This is what Stalin did with his purges. He moved people from one place to another forcibly within the Soviet Union. And that was horrible. And so many people died in that process. You look at partition in between Pakistan and India, 1 million people died. These things don't go off without a hitch. And he doesn't have the support of the surrounding countries. He doesn't have the support of Egypt for this, or Jordan, or Saudi Arabia, which he'll really need for this. But let's put it another way. This is US going in is colonialism. It's colonialism 2.0. It is pure colonialism. These natives, the savages, they can't organize themselves, so we need to go in. It's mighty whitey here, and we need to show them how it's done. Yeah, great. He has claimed that this will allow the Palestinians to live in peace in a better situation. What, in a refugee camp in Jordan? Yeah, I don't think Trump really understands the world, or anything, or history, or religion, or the yearning for a homeland. He just doesn't really get it. Israel was built it was put together in the 1940s as a homeland for Jewish people where they could feel at home. And now those same people are saying, oh, well, you know what? We're going to take the homeland off these Palestinians, which is basically what's been going on. This is an extension of what has been happening since 1948. And it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. And you saw Benjamin Netanyahu at the press conference yesterday just smiling his head off. He couldn't believe his luck. This is better than his wildest dreams, what Trump is proposing. And it was immediately praised by Israeli hardliners, including Ben-Gvir, who is the former minister who resigned because Benjamin Netanyahu wasn't hardline enough and had a peace agreement, or a ceasefire, I should say, a ceasefire agreement that would allow the Israeli refugees, at least a few of them, to come back to Israel. Something that Ben-Gvir wasn't interested in. He's not interested in peace. He's not interested in the Israeli people. He just wants war forever. Obviously, this plan defies international law, but then the US has pulled out of all kinds of humanitarian agencies, and it's pulled out of USAID, and it's pulled out of the UN mission for Palestine, UNRWA. He has positioned America in such a way that this almost feels inevitable, that he would come up with this idea. I don't think it's going to work. I think he might try and do it. I think it's going to be absolutely unworkable, trying to forcibly relocate 2 billion people to a place where the people that the places where you're trying to move them to don't want them. Yeah, I can see how so many ways this will go wrong and end in tragedy and suffering and death. Going back to colonialism, he's literally calling for the US to take over Gaza, like he's calling for the US to take over Greenland and the Panama Canal and all the other shit that he's come out with. He is a colonizer. He thinks that America does everything the best, which it doesn't. It really doesn't. America, when it goes on these daft military adventures around the fucking world, they invariably blow up in America's face. Look at Vietnam, look at Iraq, look at Afghanistan. How many times do you sing the same song before someone notices that you're singing out of tune and you're not even singing the right fucking song? My God. There's zero consideration for Palestinian self-determination. Trump assumes they'll just leave and just go, oh yeah, we're bored of it here, because it's not very nice. Yeah, because he doesn't have that yearning for a homeland. Trump doesn't understand the love people have for the place where they grew up and their neighbors and their family. He has no neighbors. He has no family who give a shit about him. It's all a business transaction. His interactions with his family are literally business transactions. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit what happens to his sons or his daughters or his nephews. Yeah, the nephew who he tried to fucking kill. You know, this is a story about him trying to kill his own fucking nephew. It's insane. But, you know, by denying him medical. This is a severely disabled nephew he has. He tried to deny medical assistance to them. I mean, just he's beyond anything. But we know this. We know this, don't we? But the US traditionally has actually long opposed forced displacements of this type. You know, this is why the US in the guise of NATO went into Bosnia and Herzegovina, went to Mosul, went to Serbia. Sarajevo. Why it bombed Serbia? Why it went into Kosovo? It's all, I think the KFOR troops are still there in Kosovo trying to keep the peace. Because the idea of ethnically cleansing an area, I hate that expression, but the genociding an area is used to be unpalpable. And this is when people go, oh yeah, well, you know, Kamala would have just done the same thing. She was advocating for a two-state solution. She would not be calling for the America to invade Gaza. Like, how would she even consider getting away with that shit? Like, are there not members of their party who might say something or have a strong opinion about this? Are there not members of the, you know, in the UK, in the Labour Party? If Keir Starmer was to say, yeah, I think we should just go and invade Palestine, or at least the Gaza Strip part of Palestine. We just invade them and take them over and build better homes. You know, and you know whatever Trump builds is going to be shite and tacky and fall apart because he's a con man. You know, he's the monorail guy from fucking The Simpsons. That's what he is. He just turns up, builds something shit that falls apart in the first 5 seconds, because that and then he sells it on. He doesn't pay the people who built the fucking thing, and then he rinses people for over the odds, saying it's worth X amount when it's not. It's worth a fraction of that, and then it all falls apart because it's all chintz, it's all shite. I remember reading an account of, I've forgotten the name of the guy, I think it was Mobebe Sisseko. I'm probably mucking up his name there, but he was the dictator of what was then Zaire. It's now the Democratic Republic of Congo. And there was a reporter who went into one of his palaces, one of his many palaces, after he had been deposed, and noted how everything was fake. Like, the gold taps were just tin taps that were being painted with gold. Like, everything was, you know, that all the artwork was all forgeries, all the things. It was just, it was just something that might look good on an Instagram picture, but, you know, in real life, when you actually go up to it, you're like, actually, this is tacky shit. The difference between an actual souk in the Middle East and going to an approximation of a souk in Epcot Center where everything's made of fucking fiberglass. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's that fakeness to it, that level of this, you know, unreality, and just a shit slapdash job. I mean, so yeah, this whole idea is so out of the realms of normality for the US, the international community, and, you know, the Middle East. The people in the Middle East are going, what the fuck? What's he even talking about? This is demonstrably insane. How could you even, you know, consider this a viable option? And then you'll have people saying, but this is the way Trump does things. He'll say, oh, I'm just coming up with ideas. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm thinking outside the box. Or he's doing this thing where he'll give you, he'll say this, you know, widget is worth $10,000, but I'm going to sell it to you for $100. It's only worth 10p. But it because he said that it was worth 10,000, your mind changes and goes, oh well, it must be worth that much then, because you don't really know how much shit's worth in life. You've got to kind of like estimate it by going on the internet and looking up the prices of other things that are similar. But when it comes to something like this, no one knows the price of this. No one knows how much it will cost the American taxpayer to do something as mad as this. And you've got a country in America where people are struggling to get homes, and Trump wants to spend billions on building homes in Palestine for holidaymakers or something. I don't know. David Peacock It's because he is a gobshite. Yeah, I had to approve that message. I approved that message. Yeah, and also the this plan not only does it like fly in the face of um you know, just norms and the history of American foreign policy, but also, you know, you've also got to have Saudi Arabia on board, which I mentioned. It requires a Palestinian state for any kind of Israeli normalization deal, which is, I think, makes it a deal breaker straight away. The plan would sabotage US diplomacy massively, making it almost impossible to work with regional allies like Jordan and Egypt and others. I mean, if Egypt tell America they can't use the Suez Canal anymore, that'll be interesting. Maybe they can have their own Suez crisis. I think they're giving up for a Panama crisis. And also, it directly contradicts Trump's America First bullshit, where his fans, and I've had Trump fans say this to me, he'd never started any wars. He just wants to look after America, and he's not out to be the world's policeman. Could this be more of being the world's policeman if it possibly tried? He's talking about military involvement in the Middle East. He's talking about sending out young men and women from America over to the Gaza Strip to fucking move 2 million people out of the Gaza Strip. And, you know, the European colonial efforts, right, to reshape the Middle East have just always ended in ended? No, I can't even say end. I can't even use the word ended because they haven't fucking ended yet. You know, so let's just say endless conflict. They have produced endless conflict. And every time we go into the Middle East, it always blows up in our faces. But also for the people of the Middle East, the good people who live in the Middle East, it destroys their lives, it destroys their security, it destroys everything. You just look at the horror that ISIS spread across vast swathes of the Middle East, from Mosul to Palmyra. They destroyed ancient monuments and temples. They murdered people left, right, and center. They massacred so many people, and that was caused by the instability. That was caused by the Americans and us. Britain is not absolved of this. Going into Iraq to invade a country to take out one squishy little man. Like, why? What? But they didn't just take him out and then leave the civil service in place like we did after we defeated the Nazis, because we realized that in West Germany at the time, they would need a bureaucracy. So we left them in place and just took out the worst ones who were the big Nazis. No, we de-Baathified Iraq. So we got rid of anyone who was anything to do with the Ba'ath Party, which included all the civil servants. So all the bureaucracy disappeared overnight, and they tried to rebuild it from ground zero, from, you know, the rubble, and it was a fucking disaster, and it led to absolute carnage and the rise of ISIS. It wasn't defeated until like 2017. You know, you had about 3 or 4 years of ISIS just running around causing the most horrific crimes. And it's the law of unintended consequences. You go in and you meddle in places like this in this kind of way, you are just setting things up to fail. And, you know, this colonial mindset that Trump has got, obviously he's talked about annexing fucking Canada and Panama and Greenland, is just part of this new agenda, because, and I said this would happen, you know, if you go back and watch earlier videos where I've talked about the fact that American presidents, especially in their second term, when they're not going to get re-elected, Trump might stay on without an election, but that's another story. They're not going to get re-elected, right? So, and they find themselves stymied being able to really do anything domestically because there's laws in place. And Trump can make as many proclamations as he likes, like a fucking king. But the reality is that Congress do control the money. Congress control the you know, aids and stuff like that. It's not up to Trump to make sweeping declarations, and all this is going to be challenged in court, in Congress. I believe that Elon Musk is going to be hauled in front of Congress to explain his actions in hacking into the government database of $7 trillion worth of federal spending. which should be an interesting conversation. But yeah, they feel stymied at home. And so they set their sights on causing trouble around the world and going and invading Panama or Grenada or Iran, Iraq, or, wherever they decide that it would be good to divert the American people's attention to. So it looks like they've actually done something. And Trump, in his first term, was very much like, oh, I don't give a shit about the rest of the world. So much so. Do you remember what he did to the people of northern Syria, the rebels who were fighting with the American troops? He just left them. He just fucking left them to die. They were fighting against ISIS and they were fighting against the Syrian government under al-Assad. And he just left them to die. Don't forget that. Don't forget it was Trump who negotiated the terrible deal with the Afghan Taliban. That was him. He negotiated that. He invited them over to fucking Camp David. That wasn't Biden. It put in place, and that deal had been made by Trump before Biden became president, and Biden had no choice but to go along with it. And it was an absolute shitfest. It was an absolute disaster, which Trump now blames on Biden, but it was Trump's plan. It's like Trump blaming the deal that he's got with the 45th president did with Mexico and Canada, blaming this free trade deal for everything. And it's like, you do know the 45th president was you, Donald Trump, you dickhead. Thank you very much for the super chat. First super chat of the morning, I think. Thank you to Lee Korn. Is Trump deliberately angering Muslims and hoping for a terror attack in the USA so he can invoke a state of emergency, suspend constitution, unlimited power? Yes. Yes. I'm not even going to argue that isn't in the realms of plausibility. I would say absolutely that's what he's trying to do. Absolutely, that is what he's trying to do. So yeah, it's there you go. It's not Graham, it's YouTube glitching or not liking certain words. Sorry, who's glitching? What is this? Why are you blocking my comments? I'm not touching anything. I'm not touching anything. It's just there's a block on certain words on YouTube. I think it changes each day. Just be careful what you're putting. If it thinks you're swearing normally, it doesn't like it. But normally, if you do swear, then it comes up as a comment that I have to approve. But I've only had one comment to approve, and it wasn't from you, I don't think. Anyway, yeah. So this approach that Donald Trump is taking, this colonialism 2.0, it's like the same approach that he takes with his real estate deals, and it ignores decades, if not centuries, of, legal, ethical, historical realities. But he doesn't get it because he doesn't feel the same emotions as you and me. He doesn't get it. He does not understand why it would be a problem. He goes to Gaza. Well, he's not going to go to Gaza, but if he did, he's looking at pictures of Gaza and it's all rubble, right? He's looking at, pictures of Rafah, and it's, all the buildings are damaged and destroyed and whatever. And he's looking at that and he's like, I wouldn't want to live there. Why would anyone want to live there? Because he can't understand what it means to have a homeland. He can't. He doesn't get it. He doesn't give a shit. It's all about a deal for him. It's all about a real estate deal. And, the fact that Netanyahu gleefully endorsed this daft proposal just shows how dangerous and extreme this has all become. There we go. Ken M, £2 super chat. Thanks, chat. Thank you very much to Ken M. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't blocking you. I'm too busy yapping. I can't do everything at once. The bottom line is this is a call for ethnic cleansing. That's what it is, right? Or let's say pogroms. Let's say genocide. Let's say forcibly relocating people from their homeland under pain of death if they don't leave. That's what he is proposing. It's naive, it's authoritarian, and it's dangerous. It's a dangerous approach to geopolitics, which is going to fuel instability in the Middle East, which is like something that we really don't need right now. More instability. Who's sitting there going, you know what the Middle East needs? More instability. Yeah. And, if implemented, this would cause irreversible damage to the Middle East and global diplomacy in general. So it is just another thing where Trump is just throwing so much stuff against the wall. I've spoken about this before. This is his Gish Gallop. This is his thing to keep people distracted. Steve Bannon talked about this in an interview in 2019 where he talked about flooding the zone. You have 3 things a day, and 2 of them will get rescinded, but 1 of them will get through. And that's what Trump is trying to do. He's trying to put these things through. Every fucking 5 seconds, there's a new story where Trump is, unfortunately, the lead story in the world, when we've got other things to talk about. I mean, in this country, we've got other things to talk about. We've got other things to be getting on with. And the problem is, Trump is going to become a weapon of mass distraction, just like Brexit became, where we don't get anything fucking done, or everything that does get done that's bad gets, goes under the radar without any serious criticism or critique, because we're too busy distracted with the shiny baubles of, that's a disgusting image, of Trump and his his cadre of fucking fools and vagabonds and naive fucking idiots and sociopathic morons. What do you? This is where we are. This is where we are. But I did want to talk about this today because obviously we talk about the situation in Israel on this channel. And I will always, when asked whose side am I on in this decades-old conflict, am I on the side of Israel? Am I on the side of the Palestinians? I say no. I'm on neither of those sides. I'm on the side of peace. That's what I want. And Trump's proposal, what he's saying here, is not going to make peace. It's going to make a bad situation so much worse. But in Trump's childlike imagination, this is the perfect way of solving a problem which has taxed the experts on diplomacy for decades. How do we solve this problem? How do we get around the fact that you have 2 distinct groups of people with 2 distinct religions and 2 distinct languages who want to live in the same place but find it impossible to share that place together? And that's your issue. And it needs to go beyond ridiculous concepts like, we'll just move everyone out. That'll solve the problem. Because it won't. It won't. You're just setting things up to fail further down the line. And I hope that this proposal just dies a death and everyone forgets about it in a week's time, which could happen. But if it does go ahead, if something like this goes, if he starts trying to do this, if he sends the US troops over to Gaza, I've got a question for you. Who's going to stop him? I mean, I talk about he's not going to make any friends in the Middle East, but they're not going to be able to stop the US if that's what they want to do. And I think that Lee Korn makes a really good point there. I think he's trying to enrage Muslims to a point where someone commits an act of terror and he uses that as a pretext for an emergency situation. We've talked about that before on the channel as well. The fact that I do believe that he will declare a state of emergency at some point in his presidency because there will be a disaster, whatever that disaster is. I don't know. It could be a terrorist attack, could be an earthquake, could be a hurricane, could be, I don't know, planes falling out of the sky every 2 minutes because he's sacked everyone from the FAA. Who's going to stop him? Who is going to stop him? I'll just jump into the chat there. YouTube blocked me talking about Empower the other day. Bloody hell. That's pretty bad, FT Griffin. But you can talk about me, really. Koala Meat there. My own cell block on Facebook. Says Koala Meat. Yeah, I know that feeling. How about getting $1 million fine when you use DeepSeek in the USA? Trump is getting serious about censorship. Is anyone surprised? Is anyone surprised? Just looked at natural resources that Palestine has, and shocker, there's a large oil and natural gas reserve under the ground. I wonder if that had anything to do with it. But I mean, I don't want that oil or gas. If this gas and oil exists, I don't want it being pulled out of the ground. I really don't want it. But isn't it interesting that like Israel has sort of not taken over Gaza, and it was stopped from taking over Gaza? I mean, it could have done this a long time ago because it just went in, reduced all the cities to rubble, forced everyone out, but it wouldn't have got the support of the international community, and essentially it wouldn't have got more existentially, I guess, it wouldn't have got, as an idea, it wouldn't have got the support of the USA. Now it would get supported the USA. When I mentioned earlier about how Trump goes in with the top deal, like, this is worth X amount, when actually it's worth a fraction of that. So you come to a midway point and you go, okay, well, I'm happy with the midway point. There is a term for that, which I'm sure some people in the chat know what the term is. What I'm worried about now is Trump saying, okay, oh, that was a bit mad, wasn't it? Me saying that the US would invade. So we'll just let Israel do it. I mean, they're next door, they're next door, so they can just, drive all the people out of this area and force them to relocate into Egypt or to Jordan or somewhere else. So let Israel do it. That's not as bad as us doing it, is it? And then Israel says, thank you very much, Mr. President. Takes over Gaza, gets all the oil and gas, and pollutes the planet even more. And we accelerate the march towards 5 degrees of global heating, which is going to be absolutely catastrophic. We've already got in the Arctic right now, the hottest. They've got this period up there in the Arctic where it's like 20 degrees above the normal temperature of what it is this time of year. 20 degrees, not 1.5 degrees, 20 degrees above the normal temperature for this time of year. It is shocking and terrifying, and we're all too distracted talking about Trump. I'm doing it as well. I'm talking about Trump because we need to talk about this. We need to get it out of our system, or at least discuss it in some way and just go, oh my God, is this really happening? Am I going mad? And we need to assure each other that we're not going mad, but the people who are mad are in charge at the moment. They really are. First they came for Greenland, they did not speak out because they didn't live there. Then they came for Gaza and they did not speak out. Says Alan the Inquirer. Good point. Both Abrahamic religions, though. It's like the war of the cat people in Red Dwarf. Hate and puds, yeah. Oh, sorry to offend anyone who's religious, but you're fighting over who's got the best imaginary friend. I mean, as someone who isn't religious, I can understand why people build their lives around their religion, in the same way that I understand that people build their lives around football or whatever it is they enjoy doing. People enjoy doing religion. It's the thing that makes them happy. As a part of me that thinks, okay, it makes you happy, fair enough. But then at the other side of it is, if you're prepared to kill for your team, for your religion, for your hobby, something has gone horribly wrong. Something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. If you're like, could you imagine people who like World of Warcraft fighting the people who like The Sims? Do you know what I mean? It's like, why do we all come together, play both games? No, it's one or the other. Saudi Arabia has leverage, does it not, when it comes to oil in the US? Yes, it does. Well, I mean, Saudi Arabia basically runs OPEC, which is the oil-producing cartel that sets prices around the world, and they're basically in charge of that. So whatever they want to jack up the prices for oil, they can certainly do that. But don't forget, America's a big oil producer itself in its own right. Although I think Biden's used a load of America's strategic reserves of oil in the last few years since the invasion of Ukraine to keep the price of gas down in America, gasoline down in America. I don't think those reserves are there anymore. So I don't know what Trump can do if the world price for gas goes up, or, if this trade war with Canada goes ahead in earnest and Canada starts whacking tariffs on the oil coming across the border, which is, 62% of imports, oil imports into America come from Canada. 62%. That's a fair whack at the smack there, right? And then, the rest of it is coming from places like, Saudi Arabia. I was thinking about Venezuela, because Venezuela's been shut out by the Americans for a long time. I saw some footage today of some Venezuelans down in I think it was like Miami-Dade County down in Florida, which is like 68% Hispanic. It's a really, really huge Hispanic population, and they voted overwhelmingly for Trump. And then these Venezuelans are like, but they promised that they wouldn't deport us, and we feel betrayed. And I'm like, yeah, leopards faces eating. Sandy Bill says that they need a lot of JCBs to clean up. Papers claim Labour risks $1 trillion contract with US trade, etc., etc. Well, we're going to have a look at the papers now. I find religion is hard to justify, but hey, it's there, so it has to be accommodated, I guess. Yeah, Scott. I mean, look, all things being equal, I don't have a problem with it. I do have a problem with people using it as an excuse to go out and do horrible things to each other, or tell people that they're wrong or that they're going to go to hell. That's one of the cruelest things that the Catholic Church does. I had a bit of a weird upbringing because half my upbringing was Catholic and half of it was Protestant. My mum was actually baptized twice. Hi, mum. So she's hedging her bets there. But Liverpool is very much a city where Catholics and Protestants have historically got on. Well, historically, like back in the day, they didn't. But the fact that my great grandfather and my great grandmother came over from Ireland and he was Protestant and she was Catholic speaks volumes for the fact that they had to run away from Ireland because they couldn't have their relationship there and they had to elope to Liverpool where they could. But at the same time, like I telling Catholic kids that their Protestant friends are going to burn in the fiery lakes of hell for all eternity for not being a Catholic is child abuse. I mean, it just is. I mean, it's not a very nice thing to do, is it? Is it? But we could go on. There's our litany of things that people do in the name of their religion, which is wrong, which is unfair, which is cruel. And it does give people an excuse to do it, and maybe they'll find some other excuse. If it wasn't religion, it would be football, or it would be Donald Trump, or it would be Brexit, or something else would fill that gap that they need to justify being horrible. Because most people can't be horrible. There's something in them that says, "Oh, being horrible is not very nice. It's not going to win me any friends. People aren't going to like me if I'm horrible. Oh, but I've got a good excuse to be horrible. Oh, I'll take it." So there you go. Anyway, so I just want to nip over to the papers for a moment, and I don't want to get too derailed with the Lucy Letby story, but obviously it is dominating the newspapers today. So let's have a look at the papers. We've got bombshell new dossier, baby killer or victim, leading experts cast out on Lucy Letby's convictions. Each death was natural causes or poor medical care. Right, I don't want this descending into a slanging match in the chat, okay? My take on this is you are arguing from 2 points of incredulity. You can either say, I find it incredulous that this blonde white woman could possibly be so cruel as to murder babies and try to murder a bunch more, right? And then you've got the other argument from incredulity, which is like, I refuse to believe that many babies could die coincidentally at the same hospital or while this woman was in charge of them. Without there being some kind of intention to do harm. So you've got two arguments from incredulity. She's been found guilty by a jury. I don't know. Like, I wasn't there at the court case. I'm not an expert in this matter by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm going to say the jury's out. If there's a retrial and she's found innocent or there's a miscarriage of justice or whatever, fair enough. But I'm not going to opine on whether, it doesn't really matter what I believe. All I really care about is the families of the children who died, which is actually brought up by the Daily Mail of all fucking papers, where it says distraught mother of Letby victim hits out a disrespectful campaign to free her, which is a way of looking at it. And there was a Sarah Vine story there where someone attacked her with road rage, apparently. There's a young mum drowned after getting trapped on the rocks at Suffolk Beach. There's a tragic story there on the front cover of the Mail. But at the Times, cut spending or taxes must increase, economists warn Reeves. This is the classic Murdoch fake kind of duality here, with you can only have one or the other. You can't have growth without taxes or cutting taxes, or you can't have more. It's a bit more messy than that. Princess Kate on the front cover of the Times again, because she needs to be on the front cover of the newspapers every fucking day for some reason. NHS allowed Nottingham killer to skip medication. Callaghan was reported as personable and kind. Staff were warned to visit patients only in pairs. Those two sub-headlines there in the Times sort of contradict each other, but whatever. Problems do feel better in the morning, scientists find. The problems don't feel very good in the middle of the night when you are wide awake. The fall of Emilia Perez, how the wheels came off an Oscars campaign. This is people, there's been a backlash against this movie from obviously transphobes, no surprise there, but also some people in the LGBT community who feel like that it's not a good representation. I'm not seeing it, so again, I don't want to make my judgment on it. I'll watch it and let you know what I think. I'm sure one day, but until then, I'm gonna not say anything. I'll just tell you what other people are saying. Labour MPs tell Starmer to get tougher on immigration. No, we don't need to get tougher. Labour MPs whose seats are under threat from refuck are set to set up a pressure group that will urge Keir Starmer to get tougher on immigration and crime amid concerns about the rise of the Populist Party. We need to tell people that immigration's a good thing. We need to get that through to people, that it's a good thing. That's what we need to do. We need to control the means of communication, which is something that we don't do at the moment because we're fucking idiots. Late banker accused of abusing female staff. This is Sir Everland de Rothschild. Oh, Jesus Christ. Who was one of the most celebrated financiers. Apparently was an essayer, a sexual abuser. No surprise there. Wintour tells the king that she has no plans to retire as she gets award. I don't know who that is. So if someone wants to tell me who Wintour is, that'll be great. She's got an award. Well done. I don't know what that was for. Campaigners demand end to injustice of Letby case. That's just a small headline there in The Guardian on the side there in the 5th column. And then we've got 10 feared killed in Sweden shooting, which is a horrific massacre that took place last night, yesterday I should say, in Sweden, the worst school shooting they've ever had by a mile. Nutters and guns are not a good mix. I'll say that I'll be saying that till the day I die. Evidence doesn't support murder of any babies. Lucy Letby's given hope convictions could be overturned as experts claim. Okay, so was it manslaughter then? Are you going to say, well, we're going to take away the intent and just say you were that dysfunctional? Is she a typhoid Mary who just happened to fuck up everything so badly that babies died? I mean, either way, I think she should be in jail. After the first baby died on your watch, I would be mortified and probably not go back to work. I'll be like, I can't handle it. I'm obviously a bit shit at this. After the second baby died, I might be like, oh my God, I'm literally killing babies here. I think I should definitely stop doing this and do something else with my life because I'm so traumatized. But she wasn't. And the footage of her being arrested, she was very cold about it. She wasn't like upset or angry. She was just kind of like resigned to the situation. Yeah. I don't know. Super Chat's just come in. Saudi will not help Gaza because they are the wrong flavour of their religion. That's a point that Palestinians. I mean, the thing is though, you've got the Sunni Shiite schism that has been there for over 1,000 years now, ever since the death of Muhammad. Peace be upon him, and I can see Saudi not helping the Gazan people like we would like them to. But at the same time, I mean, it's in their interests to keep people in the Middle East sweet, to stand up against Israel and tell them to fuck off. Israel's a great weapon of mass distraction for the dictators of Saudi Arabia, for the vile, misogynistic, brutal dictators who still hang people for being gay in that kingdom. I'm happy to beat to torture journalists to death. Anyway, Daily Telegraph here. We will not be fooled by Labour over Islam. She's just a hideous columnist there. Letby did not kill a single baby, said experts. Yeah, she killed lots of them, apparently. A picture perfect princess. Another picture of Kate for some reason on the front cover. I don't think she's actually done anything. They've just got pictures of her and we need to put these on the front page. Payments for Chagos to keep rising under PM's New Deal. So, security bosses hope Trump's pro-Russia spy chief is blocked. But it's not going to happen. They're not going to be blocked. the Democrats are probably going to go along with it. Medical experts question Lucy Letby's murder convictions as legal team plans a new bid to clear her. I think they've already had 2 bids before, so, whatever. But we'll see. And then the Great Beaver Snatch. You see what they've done there in the Star? Because they're euphemisms for something else. There were no murders. Babies died from natural causes or just through bad medical care. Okay. Who was giving the bad medical care? It was one person giving bad medical care, was it? Okay. And it was the hospital's fault. The hospital should have been shut down. Well, I mean, you could argue that, but it does seem a little bit odd that one nurse was there for all of these babies who died. Financial Times there. China seeks ammunition for Trump talks by reviving US big tech probes. Big tech God, that sounds a bit rum, doesn't it? Anyway, right, back to me. Okay, so Michael Warner, I said the hospital needs to answer some serious questions. Too many babies died. I don't think they should scapegoat even her if she was killing it. Yeah, I actually agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. I think the hospital, it's got a duty of care. Obviously, it's a fucking hospital. But when that many babies died, that's not normal. That's not right. I think that the truth is somewhere in the middle on this. I don't think that this woman accidentally killed a bunch of children without even a second's thought of like, hang on, why are all these babies dying? But it's a horrible, horrible story, and it's a horrible thing to have happened. And depending on where how you feel about this, you either, I guess, feel like it is stretches the realms of credulity that a woman could be this cruel, or that it stretches the bounds of credulity that so many babies could die under one woman's, with one woman involved in every single one of those deaths. Money is what really walks, says SG. Oh, yeah, I know. Sad times. Tribalism tends to oppose long-term survival, pagan. Well, yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I mean, we are tribal species, and some elements of our culture are tribal. But when it comes to, this idea of mounting violence, insurrections, fights, wars, conflicts with people who aren't our tribe, that's when it all becomes a bit dispiriting. But I say it again, like, if it wasn't religion, they'll just find something else. They'll find something else to fight over. The people who invaded the Parliament building over in America, the Congress building, they didn't do that for religious reasons. They did it because they were a bunch of fucking nutters, and they believe they believe Trump is their god, and he's let them all out of jail, so they can go and commit some more crimes. Murder a few more police officers, I guess. Reagan Leak says Saudi have publicly said they will not cooperate with Israel in any way unless Gaza is given a statehood. Yeah. Well, what might happen is if Israel do this and go along with Trump and say, yes, well, actually, no, we'll do it. It's okay. We'll rebuild Gaza and get rid of all the people who live there. I could see them moving many of them to, I don't know, the West Bank, or I don't know how it would work. Like, if Jordan and Egypt don't want to take 1 million people each, like, how is Israel going to force them to do that? They're going to turn up. Think about the logistics of this. They're going to turn up on the border at the Rafah crossing, and then they're just going to make them go through. And all the Egyptians need to do is just, block them, like stop them from coming in. I mean, close the gate. I mean, just boggles the mind. But if it does happen, I could see a situation where, Gaza is subsumed into Israel, like Greater Israel, and then they start, whittling away at the West Bank, which they've been doing for years, by the way. They've been doing that for decades with these settlers in the West Bank, people who turn up with a copy of the Bible and a gun and tell everyone else to get out their historical homes. And in a way, my ideal solution to what's happening in Israel is that there is one state, and it's Israel-Palestine, and people are given rights and they're allowed to live wherever they want within that country. And if they want to have a Palestinian passport, they can have a Palestinian passport. They want to have an Israeli passport, they can have an Israeli passport. If they want to have both, they can have both. People can self-identify as they wish. And the leadership of the country is not necessarily made up along religious lines. In fact, you make it part of the constitution. It's not allowed to be made up of religious lines. You mix up the political parties so that you have Muslims and Jews working together in the same parties. You have to, you put quotas in there. Do some DEI, do some affirmative action. 50% of any party needs to be Muslim, and the other 50% needs to be Jewish. That's it. It's never going to happen. It's a pipe dream, but the way we're going at the moment, there was such hopes. There were such hopes in the 1990s before Yitzhak Rabin was shot dead in 1995 by a Jewish fucking nutter, not by a Islamist. It did look like there was a path to peace. Yasser Arafat and Yitzhak Rabin pushing for a solution that would lead the Palestinian people to self-determination, to be recognized as a state around the world and secure their own borders and do their own thing. But it got derailed. It got derailed by nutters on both sides. I'm not going to say that one side is completely innocent in all this, but both sides created this situation where we are now. We had the Intifada, where I think it was it Ariel Sharon, some Israeli dickhead turned up on the Temple of the Mount and said, "Oh, this is ours now," or something stupid, and that set off this uprising from the Palestinians against Israel, which, violence never solves anything. And what's particularly frustrating is that if you look back through the history of Israel, there was a time when Israel was completely reliant on Palestinian labor. It was completely reliant on Palestinian the workforce. And if in the 1980s, under Yasser Arafat, if the Palestinian people had just literally down fucking tools, just literally sat down in the middle of the road and said, "We're not going to work," gone on a general strike, pulled a Gandhi, pulled a Gandhi. That doesn't sound right. I'll rephrase that. Done what Gandhi did, don't forget, Gandhi managed to essentially topple the British Empire without firing a single shot. He managed to do that just by civil disobedience. And there was a time when the Palestinian people had enough power over Israel in order to do that. That fell apart in the 90s. One of the reasons why it fell apart was because there was a huge mass movement and immigration from Eastern Europe, which had been behind the Iron Curtain or part of the USSR up to that point. There was a huge movement of people, and it allowed, the Jewish state in Israel to get loads of people working who you didn't have to pay much money to. So they replaced the Palestinians as the backbone of the workforce. And as a result, the Palestinians became less important to the Israeli state. And that led to the sort of the attempted two-state solution, where Gaza was, left to the devices of the Palestinians, but then Israel put things in place to ensure that it could never prosper. So you'd always have a impoverished country, and it should be a country, but let's just say region or territory, an impoverished territory with lots of angry young men and weapons coming in all the time, and a deep-seated hatred for the people who they reckon, to some extent they're right. They had their homeland taken. They used to live there, and now they can't live there. They live here instead, and now they're being moved from here as well. So yeah, it's a sad, long story. And when you have people like Ben Gvir and Netanyahu running the joint in Israel, things are not going to get better. And when you have vested interests all over the Middle East for this conflict to go on forever, it's not going to get any better. And then when you have people like Trump, who is a fucking idiot, coming up with mad solutions like, "Hey, why don't we just, why don't we invade Gaza and throw all the people out?" Because that always works. I don't know. I'm sure there are some little green shoots of hope somewhere. I just can't see them at the moment. Anyway, David Peacock, the term God-fearing should put any right-minded person off religion. But then again, there are people out there who genuinely would go and murder their neighbor if they thought that God wasn't watching them. So maybe in some cases religion actually saves lives because people don't do horrible things because they're like, oh, I don't want to burn in hell. But then I don't believe that most people believe. Like a lot of people who say they believe, I don't think they actually do, because if they genuinely believed the Bible, if they believed in Jesus and God and the Christian stuff, they would behave differently. They really, really would behave differently. And I tell you this now, no true Christian, no true Scotsman, but really, no true Christian would vote for Trump, knowing that guy and his disgusting little offshoot, his growth, Elon Musk, would murder babies. You think what Lucy Letby did was bad, right? If she did it. What Trump and Musk are proposing, or what they've done with shutting down US aid, is condemning thousands of children, babies, to death. They're baby killers, both Trump and Elon Musk, and we cannot let them forget that. We cannot let people forget that. We cannot let the people who voted for these monsters forget that. You voted for a rapist, a racist, an insurrectionist, and a baby killer. Someone who put policies in place specifically so that babies, developing nations who were getting medicine that's being supplied by US aid, that had all been paid for, been allocated by Congress, he said, no, those newborn babies cannot have this medicine that is already sitting there in warehouses in Kinshasa or in Khartoum. He said, no, they can't have access to that. And now those babies are going to die. It's a sobering thought. Anyway, SG says, I'm actually related to Gandhi. My first cousin is his great grandson. Ooh, that's quite interesting. And Shiny Warm says, it'll work like the Bantustans of apartheid South Africa, Palestinians permitted to live in restricted areas, overcrowded and barren under Israeli government and constant military surveillance. Yeah. And we all know how well that works out. You subdue the human spirit. People fight back. People fight back. You take away everything people have to live for, and they've got nothing to live for. So what do? They attack because they've got nothing else to live for. This is it. They're going to die anyway. So they're like, well, I might as well take out a few bastards who I hate on the way out. And you're just creating more violence, more misery, more suffering, and more death. That's all it is. Instead of reaching for peace. Whether we actually get there or not is another matter, but this is not the way to get there. This is just making a bad situation worse. All those 70 million are wrong, and you are right. Mark, 77 million, actually 77.3 million people voted for a man they knew to be a rapist and a man who's now killed babies. Like, they're already dead, some of them, already this week, because US aid has been shut down. And so medicines that were sent out to these places to help with childbirth have been taken away from them. And childbirth is fucking dangerous. 150 years ago, every single childbirth that happened, I have a 50% chance it would kill the mother or it would kill the baby. 50% chance until modern medicine came along. And now it's unusual when babies die. Hence the Lucy Letby trial. That is an unusual occurrence. Put it together. Take notice, you are on YouTube seeking views and clicks. Well, I don't want your views. I don't want your clicks. So, Mark, how about you just fuck off forever? Because, you're a nobody. You've never achieved anything in your life. You've never done anything in your life. No one likes you, and you've got no mates. And all you can do is go on people's channels on YouTube and go, oh, I don't like what you're saying. There's a million other channels here on YouTube, and you can, we probably agree with you. Probably being paid for by the billionaires who wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. But, you go to bat for them, because those billionaires, they really need your support. Jesus. They're so hard done by. Anyway, wasn't Trump talking about making a water park or some really crazy stuff? He actually shocked Netanyahu. Yeah. I mean, he's bonkers. He's absolutely fucking bonkers. But also, he's very dangerous. He's a killer. He killed those cops that he sent his mob out to the Capitol building to kill. He sent them out there, knowing that there were police officers who would have to defend the building and defend the senators and the members of the House of Representatives who were within the building at the time. He knew that he was putting them in danger. He knew that he was putting the cops in danger. And the fact that 150 police officers were injured in that insurrection, and Trump doesn't give a fuck about any of them, it just speaks volumes. But then the 77.3 million people who voted for Trump don't give a shit either. And if you want to turn that on its head as well, by the way, with the 70 million people, how can 70 million people be wrong? I mean, 70 million people voted for Kamala. So it's just a stupid fucking argument. I mean, it's a juvenile, idiotic argument made by people who didn't pay attention in school. Maybe Mark should go back to school, pay attention this time, maybe read a book if he can read. Anyway, moving on, or she, I don't know, don't want to cast aspersions. 50% was born nearly 50 years ago. Good Lord, I must be the lucky 59%. 150 years ago. 150 years ago. Palestine has vast water resources underground, so it could be plausible for a water park. Just what the fuck? What a time to be alive! But yeah, sorry about the troll. I will be back at 12 o'clock for Prime Minister's questions, if it's going ahead, which I assume it is. I haven't checked. Oh no, hang on. No, hang on. What day is it? It's Wednesday. Oh yeah, it's Wednesday the 5th of February 2025. I normally start with that, don't I? I didn't do that today. Anyway, it's Wednesday the 5th of February 2025. Welcome to Morning Brew with me, Graham Hughes. Hello, how you all doing? Are we starting again? Let's start the show again. Anyway, I'm going to get off now. I'll be back at 12 for Prime Minister's questions. So if you'd like to join us for that, we'll just be doing a live commentary on it. If you don't want an excitable Ginger Scouser bouncing up and down in the corner of the screen, making jokes about what people are saying or commenting on it or talking over the people who are talking, then please watch it on the BBC. Please watch it on the Parliamentary channel. Don't watch it on this channel. Don't watch it. It's a commentary. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Thank you for the super chats. Really appreciate that. Give us a like on the way out if you're so minded, or a dislike. I don't care. It's all interaction, isn't it? Just like Mark's interaction is all good interaction until I blocked him off the channel so he can watch, but he can't actually do anything. Like a eunuch at an orgy. Anyway, so thanks to everyone. Thanks to Dark 4x4 and Blue Badger and to MH Carer and Koala Meat and Band of Harp Jays and Nirvana and everyone else. If you would like to join the lovely people who have roses next to their name, just click the join button underneath the video or tap the join button if it's there. If it's not there, sorry, you can't join for some reason. I don't know why. We're trying to find out. We don't know yet. But yeah, if you do want to join the channel, you are very welcome to do so. And until 12 o'clock, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.